समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
As the turmoil in Ladakh continues, Sonam Wangchuk's wife, who is of course also a social activist and entrepreneur herself, has moved the Supreme Court with a habeas corpus petition saying that she does not know of the whereabouts or the well-being of her husband. Sonam Wangchuk was arrested after the protests in Ladakh for the sixth schedule and statehood turned violent. The Ministry of Home Affairs blamed Sonam for inciting the crowds. Sonam Wangchuk, earlier in an interview to Mojo Story and to us, said that he was being made a scapegoat, although he did concede that he was extremely distressed that the protests had taken a violent turn, and went so far as to say that Gen Z had rejected his way of protesting. Dr. Gitanjali Angmo is on the program with us now. Thank you very much for your time. I can imagine that it's a very fraught time for you. You petitioned the Supreme Court with a habeas corpus petition, which by definition demands to know the whereabouts and the well-being of someone, in this case, your husband, Sonam Wangchuk. Do you have any further news or information, ma'am, since you filed this petition?
No, it was filed just yesterday, and it's got numbered, so it should come up on Monday, if not tomorrow, since the court is on a holiday. But before I filed this, I also sent representations to Her Excellency, the President of India, Prime Minister, Home Minister, Law Minister, LG, as well as the DC of Leh. And because I did not get a reply to that, I had to move this petition. And before I wrote the representation, I waited for 5 days to get the copy of the detention order, because I was promised last Friday when he was detained that as soon as he is flown to Jodhpur, the officer in charge would give me a call and make me speak to Sonam, but it did not. It hasn't happened. So it's been a week that I know nothing about his whereabouts, his condition, his situation, and therefore this step was taken.
I'm sure you've seen the very detailed statement that was released by the administration in Ladakh that claimed that they followed all procedure and you were informed about that procedure. How do you respond to that?
So the only, as I said, there was just a call from the inspector, the SHO of Leh, that this has happened, and there was a message from him that he would be, they would be sending us the detention order, and that's all. I was not informed. Maybe others in Ladakh may have been informed, but as of now, even though it's been told that 11 of us can visit him, but there's nothing in writing to that effect. There is no order that who all can meet him, and there's nothing in writing.
So since he was taken into custody, you have absolutely no news of him?
No.
And there were reports, as you mentioned, that you would be allowed by the government, this is not court enabled, but by the government to visit him reportedly in a jail in Jodhpur. Do you even know for sure that he is in Jodhpur?
There have been protests outside the jail in Jodhpur. So there have been people who've been wanting to go and meet him. So he must be there, because that's what was told to us. But the fact that a few of us can meet was also told to me, but it was told by the DGP, I think orally. And I've been waiting to get a formal written order to that effect.
Dr. Gitanjali, how do you look at the overall situation? Sonam Wangchuk has been arrested under the NSA, right? Basically, he's being considered or treated as a security threat, a threat to national security. How do you respond to that? Because part of your petition at the Supreme Court also challenges the fact that he's been arrested under the NSA.
Yeah, because I think anybody in his right mind would know how ridiculous this NSA is on somebody like Sonam Wangchuk, who has spent his entire life, working for the grassroots level in education, environment, sustainability, and for the empowerment of youth, and who has been the pride of India, be it at the Nobel Foundation, where he was invited to give a speech on his artificial glaciers, or at the Magsaysay awardee, or many such awards in India by this very government in the last 5 years, be it for his work in passive solar heated shelters, for the army, or for his artificial glaciers. So, how can suddenly a person who has given his life for this country, for the youth, for the people of Ladakh, suddenly become a threat, and that too for national security? I think anybody who hears of this would know that it is ridiculous, and therefore, and it was not something that happened all of a sudden. This was being planned ever since he started his first fasting 4 years ago. We were constantly being arm twisted, emotionally blackmailed, to or witch hunted. It started 4 years ago when our FCRA application was not uh, passed for Hayal. And then our UGC registration has not been passed for UGC, filing. The PSUs were called. They were told that they received calls from the MHA to stop funding to us. That's been happening. A month and a half ago, the entire land, which was given to us, there was a letter saying that it will be escheated back to the government because there has not been a lease deed. Whereas we know with papers, we had done a press conference to show that the delay is from their side, because even as we speak, till yesterday, there has not been a lease policy after the UT administration was formed. And then from every side, and I've been handling it for the last 1 month and doing nothing else but queries from the CBI, from the IT department, summons, scrutinies. Every day there is a list of things that is required from us. And when they found nothing in it, because for a month CBI was sitting in Leh, they had access to all our documents, all our annual reports, even the allegations that they have that we have violated FCRA was proven to them that it is false, because FCRA is needed only for donations, and the funds that had come to Hayal were not donations but income for export of services. And we had duly submitted the service agreements, the invoices, the copies of the reports, that how the foreign universities were buying our research, and it was an income. So the CBI also found nothing. So they had no other grounds. Otherwise, they would have done some other case if they had found even a little bit of something. But we are almost 100% of our transactions happen online. So there's no case of any kind of misuse of funds. We upload the annual returns, IT returns are all filed. So when they found nothing, then this whole Pakistan angle and this security was the only thing left for them. Because this February, both Sonam and I had visited the conference in Islamabad, Breathe Pakistan, which was organized by the United Nations and Dawn Media. And this is what has been my position, that if India, to maintain relations, can play a cricket match, then it surely can do a conference, where the best minds meet to discuss the glaciers, because a glacier will not see that I'm flooding Pakistan or India when you're talking about the entire third pole. So we have to work together as all these countries. So that is being taken out of context and being linked to some Pakistani intel guy they spotted apparently in Ladakh and all of that. But it is all hogwash. And I think anybody with a little bit of intelligence and a little bit of conscience will know that all this is a very futile attempt to frame a stalwart like Sonam Wangchuk.
Uh, Dr. Gitanjali, I was going to ask you about the accusation of the links to a Pakistani intelligence operative that you have responded to. You say it's absolute hogwash. You frame the climate change conference in the context of India playing Pakistan on cricket, a cricket match that many Indians thought should not have been played. But now that you've responded to that, how do you explain the violence that took place? Because if you saw the statement from the Home Ministry, they squarely blamed Sonam Wangchuk. They said his words had been inflammatory. His referencing, we lost you there, Dr. Gitanjali. Are you there? Yeah, there you are.
Yes, I
Yeah, you're
lost it.
back. Yeah. I was just saying that you would have seen the MHA statement squarely blaming Sonam Wangchuk for the protest turning violent. And, I managed to interview him just hours before he was arrested. And he said two things to me. He said Gen Z, he felt, had rejected him. They were impatient with his belief in nonviolence. And he then sort of said that he felt a sense of failure, that he hadn't been able to stop the protest from turning violent. I want to ask you, who is to take responsibility, according to you, for the fact that 4 people were killed, 80 were injured, and at least half of those 80 injured are reported to be policemen? Who, according to you, is responsible for the protest turning violent?
So I think it's not like a blame game of who's who. The situation escalated. It started with 2 elderly women who fell ill on the 14th day of the fast. They were taken to the hospital. And Sonam also was looking very frail and weak. So many people who went to the protest, who spoke to me, they said that we want to stand up for him. We want to protest peacefully. And the history of Ladakh has been that it was meant to be a peaceful protest. Ladakhis are not violent people per se. And it was going on in a very peaceful manner. It was in a separate place. Sonam was in a different place. And forget instigating it, what the MHA is saying or the UT is saying, but he wasn't even aware that this was how it would turn. So they suddenly, I think what escalated the situation was the CRPF opening tear gas. And that angered the youth, and then they started stone pelting. And then it escalated and went out of control. But the point is, at no instance, there was a need to shoot people in their heads and in their hearts. Okay, these were not terrorists that you were dealing with or criminals. These were peaceful protesters. And even if one had to shoot, first of all, one could have used water cannons and a lot of other things that are available to contain the situation. But even if you have to shoot, you could have shot at the legs or somewhere. And I was told that they were being like targeted and killed. Those who later on were there as eyewitnesses. That this gentleman fell down, and then the CRPF person just shot him there. So how was he going to be a threat? A person who already had fallen. And
But
so I think it was not right for them to open fire at any rate, at any cost.
But the fact is that the BJP local office was set ablaze. As I mentioned, at least half of the 80 injured were policemen. So there has been violence on both sides from the looks of it. And that is why a judicial probe has been spoken about, but perhaps a judicial probe is needed. What I'm trying to say is that Sonam Wangchuk himself called off his dharna, and he said it was nonsense. I'm quoting him, that this violence had been had shown its face. So, I guess, do you feel that some of the blame is also that of some of the protesters who took the law into their own hands, or how do you see it?
I think I will second what Sonam has already said, that people were waiting for 5 years, it being the election manifesto. And it was going on and on and on with peaceful protest and this and that. So, as Sonam has said, yes, it may have frustrated the younger generation, that for how long, And when the fast started on the 8th or 10th of September, why were dates given to be like 6th of October? So yes, I mean, definitely there has been violence, and Sonam has condemned it. But at the same time, we have to see that the cause has been this delay, of 5 years, and people's patience being run out. And when it was their number one manifesto, it was not something that was uh, not promised by them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think what Sonam says is what happened, that people were frustrated with these peaceful methods, and there was a lot of anger that was built.
You are a co-founder of Hayal, and reports that I read today suggested that you too might now be under the scanner. I want your response on that. You've already responded on the FCRA issue. That FCRA has since been scrapped, as you know. There has been an allegation of irregularities. You have rubbished that. You have also made the allegation that you are being followed. You feel that you're under surveillance. What is your basis to feel that? Is that part of something you're going to bring up in court? What's happening vis-a-vis you personally?
Yeah. So the day when Sonam was arrested, there were a lot of CRPF police outside Hayal. And I was under the impression that maybe they're there for the regular, safety protocol. But then the internet was jammed, conferences which were all wrong about Hayal, about that nothing has happened at Hayal for so many years and all that. And when I wanted to refute it, a lot of media personnel, they were calling me that they're not letting us inside. So that was something I did not expect, that they won't let media people come in to interview me. And so I thought it was prudent for me to leave Ladakh, and I almost had to, very carefully, I was, smuggle myself out, if I may say. And then I come to know that the very next day, that entire CRPF that was outside of Hayal was de-escalated. So it was to keep an eye on me. And then I'm in Delhi for the past few days, and wherever I go, there are two cars and a motorcycle following me everywhere. So I don't know who they are and what they want, but this is not certainly something that one expects. When in case of it bad enough for to detain Sonam, he's if even if they have some reservations about sixth schedule or whatever, there could be dialogue and there could be discussion in a democracy. It is bad enough to detain a person like him, and that too under NSA. And then to unleash these kinds of people to keep an eye on me or have me under surveillance is not something that I'm comfortable with.
I want to ask you in the end, you've clearly decided to fight this. You're in the Supreme Court. You've written to the president. You're hoping to meet with your husband soon in prison. My question to you is this. Public memory is so short-lived that not enough people remember that there was a time when both you and Sonam actually had very good relations, I would argue, with the government of the day. Sonam, in fact, supported the abrogation of Article 370. I think Ladakhis probably felt that there was something autonomous that could emerge for them in the light of the changes that had come to Jammu and Kashmir, which used to be Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. You are apart from all your various roles as co-founder of Hayal, you're also a sort of black belt. You have a martial arts history. You've been conferred an award by the government. I mean, I'm old enough to remember all of this. How did it all change? I mean, do you remember that time? And when you compare it to this, like, what do you think happened? How did things become so different?
So I am a student. In addition to my other roles, I'm also a student and teacher of the Vedas and Upanishads and the Gita in the light of Sri Aurobindo. And I have always worked and stood for India and to make it great in the world, as is the vision of Sri Aurobindo. And Sonam also has always been focused on issues of education, sustainability. So both of us are apolitical to start with. And we celebrate every good thing that any government does. We are issue based. So when 370 was abrogated, it was good for the national interests of the country, because integrating India into one great entity, which it was necessary. We cannot develop a region if we keep it separate. So yes, celebrating 370 and uh, challenging the government on not giving Ladakh its democratic rights in terms of UT with legislature don't they coexist, because both are to make India a strong democratic country, and we both have always stood for the right issues. So be it Mr. Modi's Sonam in Pakistan, from the stage he uh, appreciated mission life, what Mr. Modi had started, lifestyle for environment change, because it mirrored and resonated with his I Live Simply movement, which he had launched a few years ago with UNEP. So we are very much issue based, and we stand for truth and the country. We want to see India great. We want to rediscover our Indian knowledge systems, integrate with the best cutting edge technology in the world. And my entire life has been, both of us could have had great roles abroad on men, but we chose to be in India. We chose to make India great. So anybody who aligns in making India great, we would be appreciating their efforts. But we are also, as good friends, we would be critics if there is something which. So Sonam is not anti this government or that government. Even right now, he can be considered as a friend of the ruling government, as a true friend who criticizes you when you're going wrong. He has been telling, even last time, he was telling them before the MP elections that if you do not resolve the sixth schedule, you will lose. And he was right. So he was not challenging the government or anti-government. He's a good friend of the government, trying to remind them that you have to keep your promise, and if you don't, you will lose. And now there is Hill Council election, and that's why he was trying to tell them that if you don't do the same thing right now, you will lose again. And we cannot, afford to be this unstable region bordering China on one side and Pakistan on the other. And Ladakhis, the wars in Ladakh have been won in as much as the army has done by the local people who've supported, the local people who've carried the ammunition up to the mountains, because the soldiers from other parts of the country hadn't acclimatized. So it's very important to have the people there love you and to stand by you. And for that, if you have something that you've promised, you should do. And people are misunderstanding sixth schedule as anti-development or anti-progress. It's not so. There, we have been on the cutting edge of, be it passive solar heated homes and other technologies. All we we mean by sixth schedule is to have meaningful, sensitive development, not mindless consumeristic development. And there are a lot of examples to that, but for some other time.
Yeah, you have your plate full right now. All I'll ask you before we let you go is, do you fear today for yourself and for your husband?
No, first of all, I debunk the narrative that a woman is abala.
No, I
A
didn't mean
woman in
that.
India.
No,
You didn't.
I would never
You
think
didn't.
that. Yes.
I know, but a woman is the Shakti, in the Indian context. We just celebrated Navratri. She can be Durga if required. So, no, I do not fear, because I am on the path of truth. And India has always stood on the pillar of Satyamev Jayate. And very soon this truth will be out. I'm careful, but I'm not scared. As you said, I'm a second dan black belt in karate. So,
Well, Dr. Gitanjali Angmo, thank you for your time. I know you have a very full plate right now, and it will be very critical to see both how the Supreme Court responds to your petition, and also when and if you're able to meet with Sonam Wangchuk, who has been arrested under the NSA. We appreciate your time. Thank you for talking to us.
thank you for having me over, Barkha. Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work.
If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.